What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We're going to go over a few things today, including the sales charts in Japan. As you remember, we do that pretty much every week for the most part, Media Creates. And there's something on the charts that's very interesting, and it pretty much gives us a clear-cut picture as to how badly Square Enix prepared for the Octopath Traveler, or I should say how much they underestimated a game like that and how it would do in 2018. I guess you can't blame them too much, but still, it's a shame to see. We're going to go over all of that. First, let's start with some of the quick news, starting with Paladins on the Switch. It's now free to play. That's great. Before you had to buy a $30 Founders Pack, people were kind of tentative on that. They weren't sure because maybe you want to try the game out first. It's very similar to Overwatch, so if you like Overwatch or the idea of Overwatch, you'll probably enjoy the game itself, Paladins. But now it is free to play. You don't have to buy that Founders Pack, but you're going to end up doing a lot of grinding in this game if you don't own the Founders Pack. The Founders Pack pretty much unlocks all the different heroes and everything, whereas otherwise you have to grind constantly through games to unlock as many people as you can. You still earn stuff down the road after you unlock everything, and then you go into the Founders Pack and everything. But still, there's just a lot of work that has to get done. And then they also announced and released a new champion in the update, the Deadly Ninja Koga. So there you go. There's a new champion. It's now free to play on the Switch. You can go check it out, see if you like it. Then I guess at that point, if you don't want to have to grind away constantly and unlock everything, you can do the Founders Pack and pretty much just get all the champions. Also, Hellblade is going to VR. This is going to be its own game, technically, or own application that they release July 31st, and you can go pick it up on Steam and everything. But they decided to, for some reason, I guess it would work well if you really consider the premise of the game, considering there is like that simulated psychosis that they have in the game, and if you have, the VR headset on, you have your earbuds in, they could probably, some of those audio tricks and kind of, I guess, visual cues that they do would be really cool and kind of, I guess, maybe even trick you a little bit. They did a whole video on it, showed it off, and kind of talked a bit about why they wanted to do it. The one thing that I did notice in the press release, and then articles that kind of were written from the press release, it seems like they want you to have a really nice computer, a really strong rig. They're recommending a GTX 1080 or an RX 580 to make it happen because they appear to want 90 frames per second for a smooth experience. And that means it's not coming to PlayStation VR. That's right. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing for PSVR users. So if you want to play this game, which seems like it would be a pretty cool experience in VR, by July 31st, you have to have a pretty strong rig with at least a GTX 1080 or an RX 580 equipped. But hey, it's pretty cool, and if you already own the game on Steam, this will just be free to you. You can just download it when it comes out at the end of the month. Otherwise, you'll just have to buy it. One other cool note, RPG Maker MV. Do you remember how we talked about that, how that's coming out to the Switch and Xbox and everything? Well, it looks like something we kind of theorized about when it was announced. It looks like the Xbox and the Switch version will have a cross-play component in that you can share the different games you make back and forth. So if you make something on the Switch and you put it up for people to download and check out, somebody on the Xbox could actually download your game, the RPG you made, and play it there. And then, of course, there will also be a player that's just released for free, so you can just download the player on either system, and you won't be able to make anything. Be able to download other people's adventures that they create for, I guess, unlimited potential there. It's kind of like Mario Maker for RPGs, I guess. So if you had a good time with something like that and you like RPGs, you've never done an RPG Maker, maybe you're not really into building them, you can technically download the player and play them for free, and people on Switch and Xbox can share it. That's a cool thing to see. Of course, I know what you're thinking, no, Sony is not taking part in the cross-play here, cross-sharing even, you would say, between them. So at this point, it's, for the consoles anyway, it's the Switch and the Xbox sharing. All right, with some of the smaller stuff out of the way, guys, let's jump into bigger stuff. We're going to start with Media Create sales right away. These, of course, are the physical sales in Japan that are tracked weekly. Most other places don't give us actual hard numbers. We get the exact numbers here from Media Create as they track them every week. That's why we talk more about Japan than anywhere else when it comes to sales. We talk about the UK, but they just give us charts, and MPD really doesn't tell us as much either, just ranking at times and growth over time. But we can actually take a look at the exact numbers here, a week-to-week basis, and you're going to see something with Octopath that is quite alarming. It does show that Square was just not prepared for the demand for this game. They apologize at least twice at this point for the short of stock. We heard that when they did restock a few places in Japan, they sold out in a few days. So here are the charts with the top 10, and you're going to see right away Octopath Traveler had a massive drop. But at number 1 is the taiko game that's like the drum. You've probably seen this on YouTube by now, where you actually have a drum that you can buy. It's like a whole accessory that goes with it, or you can just use it without it and play it. But it's basically a drumming rhythm game at 69,984. Octopath Traveler dropped 80%. That's right, 80% down to 22,438, with many outlets claiming stock issues going on, where most of them are they're just sold out. They don't have the stock to sell. And we heard that in August there is supposed to be a much larger restock, and that's just the way it goes. If you're not ready, this is what happens, and Square obviously was not ready. Splatoon 2 below that at number 3, 21,913. Coming up on that 2.5 million now, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker had a 51% drop. So it had a less of a drop than Octopath Traveler, but still sold roughly 2,000 units less at 20,547. Still pretty good for a Wii U port, though, I will say that. Mario Tennis Aces at number 5, 90,709. That's coming up on 250,000 now. Minecraft at number 6. Mario Kart Deluxe number 7. Pokemon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon. Probably people just getting kind of hyped for Pokemon, since that's kind of been staying in at this point. It's been actually climbing up the charts. At number 8, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, that's the 3DS version, number 9. Then The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 10. Jumping over to the systems, Nintendo Switch at the top, 53,745. That's a pretty good jump, actually, from last week, about a 3,500 unit jump. The PS4, 20,309. That is also a jump from last week, just under 3,000 unit jump, so about 2,700. The 3DS, 11,577, another jump there from last week's 7,131. PlayStation Vita went up about 100 units, and then the Xbox One strangely jumped heavily, nearly 700 units, which I'm not really sure what happened. I know there was Amazon Prime Day, but this doesn't track online sales from what I remember. So maybe there were deals going on in the local area to compete with Amazon Prime. I did see some stores in my area doing that. It's possible. I don't see anything that released that I could see that would have really caused this spike. So with those sales charts, yes, it's pretty clear Square Enix was not ready. They missed so far an opportunity with Octopath Traveler. I think it will continue to sell, though. I think when the restock happens in August, yes, they will get several more that sell, but obviously the demand is hot right now for this item, and you don't want it to cool off, or when other releases come out, you don't want those to kind of really take precedence over Octopath Traveler. So we'll see. I'd like to think that Octopath will stick around in the top 10 for a while now, and honestly, 500,000 probably before it's all said and done in Japan, depending on stocks. I mean, it could climb to 1 million if it stays at least within reason. Going through, the holidays and everything, it could also be back in the top 10 quite a few times. You're going to notice something here. The entire top 10, yes, was Nintendo stuff. That the whole top 10, actually the top 12, if you go down 2 more spots, you have to go down to the 13th spot to find a PlayStation game of any kind. So Nintendo did absolutely dominate the charts this week. We saw, obviously, the Switch even had a bit of a climb there to over 53,000 units. And it's going to continue that way. I keep talking about it. The Switch will overtake the PlayStation very possibly within the next 6 to 7 months in Japan, especially with Smash and Pokemon both coming out. But of course, at the end of January, you'll see Kingdom Hearts, Resident Evil, you'll see some other games show up that could probably help the PlayStation. So we'll see. Next up, let's talk about arcade cabinets, specifically ones that you could technically go out and pre-order at places like GameStop right now, or I guess wait till it comes to your local Walmart or other places, and they're not terribly expensive. Now, when I think of terribly expensive, I think of some arcade cabinets that are thousands of dollars. Now, not all of them are that expensive. Occasionally, I'll see some pop up on Craigslist for $500 or $600 or $700. But what if you go buy one that you do put together, but it's like $400? Well, there's a company right now, as you can kind of see some of the arcade units here, that's trying to make that happen. And this is from a company called Arcade 1UP. And what they're doing is creating smaller, it looks like smaller arcade cabinets. They're not super tall, which is something that I have seen kind of put some people off from these. They're 3/4 scale arcade cabinets. So they're 45.8 inches high, which again might put some people off. They do sell a riser that makes it a bit taller, and you can see some of the product specifications here, where they do have kind of the cabinet design on the side that are officially licensed authentic cabinet artwork, licensor approved gameplay, a 17-inch LCD, and of course it's not quarter no quarters are required. It's not quarter operated, which I would hope not. I'd hope you don't buy it and then have to put quarters in your own machine, so that would just be weird. But right now there are 5 different cabinets, and they seem to be compilation cabinets. For example, there's one that has Asteroids, Tempest, Major Havoc, and Lunar Lander. Then there's one that appears to just be like all Street Fighter. Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. There's one that has Final Fight, Ghosts and Goblins, 1944, and Strider. That would probably be the one I would look at. And they are supposed to be going together in a fashion where you literally take them apart and put them together like IKEA, it almost looks like. They have a whole video showing you how to do it, and it looks simple enough. But of course, it's going to put some people off because of the size of the cabinets. I'm just more so looking at this because of, I guess, the ease of buying one and having it shipped to your house, or even picking up in stores, because it's going to be available in a couple places. Walmart, GameStop. GameStop, you can actually pre-order it now. And strangely, Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't really know what that's about, but I guess that's in the Beyond category for Bed Bath & Beyond. Kind of neat. If you're a fan of arcade units, it might be something to look into. But it is using an LCD, so it's not even using like a CRT or anything, but some people might like that. Either way, kind of a neat thing. The price isn't bad at $400 for what you get. I don't know how moddable or anything they would be, because some people might want to hack them and put, I guess, a bunch of games on it. Or maybe they just want it for the arcade setup itself, and then they put like a Raspberry Pi in there. I don't know, but this looks kind of neat. I might actually get one and then put it together, or even check it out on the channel here. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that. Next up, we have 2 fairly bigger indie games, ones that are definitely known pretty well, both reviewed very well, and they're very popular and have sold very well. They're also on other systems now, the PS4, Vita, Steam. Both of these are available on those platforms now, but it looks like they're also making the jump to the Switch, probably take advantage of the booming indie market there, where indies are heavily supported right now on the Switch. We have 2 different ones, Iconoclast and Salt and Sanctuary. Both are making their way to the Switch. Both got actually announced and are coming on the same day, it appears, August 2nd. So yes, these are one of those cases where they announce them and then, oh yeah, they're out next week. We've seen that with a couple games, Hand of Fate 2 being the most recent one that I can recall, where it was pretty much, here it's the game coming out, it's coming out next week. But these are 2 good games, and they're both under $20. Now we're going to start here with Iconoclast. There is a full trailer, tons of gameplay, reviews everywhere. You can check out everything for yourself. But Iconoclast is a Metroidvania-style 2D platform. It's been out on the PS4, the Vita, and Steam earlier this year, and the reviews have been outstanding for this game. People love this game. And it should be $19.99. That's what it is on other platforms now. But the 2D Metroidvania aspect of it is pretty cool. Now, it is known to be a bit more linear than most Metroidvania games, but the art style, the gameplay, everything is solid across the board. So that might be a good one to check out if you enjoy kind of those 2D Metroidvania style games. The other one, Salt and Sanctuary. This is actually one I'm a bit more familiar with because I did play it on Steam. It's actually done by Ska, who did the Dishwasher series. Remember that? On the 360, which was a more violent, brutal style 2D game. This one's more violent than Iconoclast, but I'm gonna say it is technically, I guess the term is really annoying, I know, but technically I guess it's the Dark Souls, a 2D style Dark Souls game. Essentially, again, gameplay footage, trailers, reviews, it's all out there because it's been on several different platforms already. It's just now going to the Switch. But Salt and Sanctuary is an interesting looking game because it does have dark visuals. It's pretty brutal and violent looking. It's a very tough 2D game. Big RPG elements to it though. So if you like kind of that character development, this is it. It even kind of has something that reminded me of the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X, which was pretty cool to see. Now, again, it's been on other platforms, and the pricing on other platforms is $17.99, so that's what I'm going to assume that it is on the Switch as well. That's kind of where these prices I'm getting them from right now with other platforms. Iconoclast at $19.99, and then Salt and Sanctuary at $17.99. But pricing generally for a lot of indie games tends to be around the same, or even sometimes a little less, is what we're seeing, probably because they're banking on more sales with other platforms. So I guess look out for those next week. They're 2 high-quality indie games, and you can kind of take a look at the trailers and reviews and see if either of these games are for you. If I had to pick between one of the two, I would actually go with Iconoclast because it looks like a pretty neat Metroidvania-style game, and it's definitely not as aggravating as something like Salt and Sanctuary, but it doesn't have the RPG elements that Salt and Sanctuary has. So, you can weigh in between the two, or apparently for 40 bucks, you can just get both. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Now, of course, this game has been out on, PS4, PC, Xbox, Switch. It's dominated the UK sales charts for quite a while, and it's done pretty well with MPDs and everything. It's just massively successful, but it's not out in Japan on the Switch or anything. So in a strange turn of events, it looks like Sega is actually going to be taking over those publishing duties, and this game will be coming out October 18th. Now, it's not technically massive news, I guess, but it's very funny to look at the situation here because Sega is publishing a game or a set of games that were exclusive to Sony platforms, and they're publishing them on a Nintendo system. So think back to the mid-90s. If you played games then, and you would know, obviously, the big platforms on the market were the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64, the Saturn. And so now, fast forward to now, Crash Bandicoot, which was the big mascot standing outside of Nintendo's headquarters with a megaphone yelling on Sony's behalf, is now being put on a Nintendo platform by Sega. So go tell, I guess, in my case, my 10-year-old self that back then, I would have looked at me like I was crazy. It's just something funny to look at when it comes to gaming history. Not necessarily that, it's coming to Japan or anything and Sega's doing it. Just gaming history. So what happens, do you guys think, 20 years from now? Who do you think's going to be publishing on whose platform? It's hard to say, but it's really funny to see this kind of stuff. I mean, even if you think back to Rare being on Nintendo's side, and now they're with Microsoft and doing stuff with them. It's just, you never know what'll happen in 10, 15, even 20 years. And guys, that's where I'm going to leave Newswave today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether there's a media create sales charts. Do you think Square Enix they just weren't ready for Octopath Traveler's success? And do you think they should have been a bit more ready with stock? Or maybe just had a bit more confidence in this game, because the quality was obviously there. It just seemed like Square just wasn't ready with stock or just units in general for physical stores. Also, what about the arcade units there? Do you like the idea of it, or do you think the smaller size is going to put people off, or is the price just compelling enough for you to pick them up? What do you think about Sega publishing Crash Bandicoot on a Nintendo platform? An old school Sony IP that is now being pushed to Nintendo platform by Sega. Let me know what you guys think about all this stuff down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time.